Welcome to NCRT Made Easy. Today we're going to discuss the first chapter of psychology, which is variations in psychological attributes. Let's begin. Starting off with discussing the contents of the chapter, as mentioned in the NCRT textbook. We'll be seeing that first, and then we're going to start the chapter. First, we have the introduction to the chapter, and then we'll have the individual differences, and then we'll have the assessments of psychology, and then we have what is intelligence. Like I already said, we'll be learning many different theories of how people define intelligence. Then we have theories of intelligence, and intelligence is different because in theories of intelligence we'll be learning what all theories there are, like two-factor theory, unifactor theory. There are many things we'll be learning under this, whereas this one is how people defined intelligence, not just people, psychologists, Oxford Dictionary, how they define intelligence. So exactly what is intelligence. Under this comes what are the theory. So there's theory of multiple intelligence. Then we have the triarchic theory of intelligence. Then we have pass model. We will learning that as this is an acronym, by the way. We will learning the pass model. Individual variations in intelligence, like there's difference in IQ and the distribution of IQ, which we're learning under this. And what are these some misuses that people do by understanding what is our intelligence? We'll be learning that as well, and then we will learning the interlink of culture and intelligence. Then we will learning EQ, like I explained you, emotional intelligence. And then we're gonna do special abilities, which is giftedness is different and talent is different. Special abilities. Okay. What is aptitude? Under this we have aptitude, and then we're going to end it by understanding creativity, in which we're going to also learn the interlinking of creativity with intelligence. Let's begin. Starting with introduction, in this it's nothing but basics, like there's just some points, like one of the most popular psychological attributes which has been of interest to psychologists is intelligence. People differ from each other to their ability to understand complex ideas, adapt to environment, learn from experience, engage in various forms of reasoning, and to overcome obstacles. This is intelligence. This is how we find the difference in intelligence. There are cultural differences of intelligence that range and vary from people to people. So the nature of special abilities and attitudes are also different. Now we're going to be learning the individual differences in human functioning. Okay, so first thing to remember is what is individual differences. Individual differences refer to distinctiveness and variation among people's characteristic and personal traits or behavior patterns. That is an important point. And then many psychologists hold the view that behaviors are based on situations and circumstances. In this case, it is called situationism. Situationism, this is an important term. This might come as MCQs as well. What is situationism? It is the situations and circumstances in which one is placed influences one's behavior. So it is when situations and circumstances influences one's behavior. It is called situationism. For example, a person who is generally aggressive may behave in submissive manner in presence of his or her top boss. Sometimes situational influences are so powerful that individuals with different personality traits also respond to same ways. The situationist perspective views human behavior relatively more as a result of influence of external factors. So this mainly sees human behavior due to influence of external factors. Okay, then we have the next point, which is about assessment of psychological attributes. We've been learning that in the first chapter of grade 11. I assume it's the first chapter. It is the first chapter, I think. Alright, so what is assessment? Assessment is the first step in understanding psychological attribute. When you define assessment refers, note it down with me, refers to the measurement of psychological attributes of individuals. Assessment refers to measurement of psychological attributes of individuals and their evaluation using multiple methods. Their evaluation using multiple methods in terms of certain standards of comparison. Okay, so this is an important definition. Assessment refers to measurement of psychological attributes of individuals and their evaluation using multiple methods. There are questions saying what is an assessment, so you will need the definition. Okay, and then attributes is said to exist in a person only if it can be measured by using scientific procedures. Scientific procedures means systematic procedures. For example, we say Harish is dominant. When we say that, we are referring to the degree of dominance in Harish. This statement is based on our own assessment of dominance in him. Our assessment may be informal or formal. So now there are types of assessment. There is formal assessment and there is informal assessment. What is formal assessment? It is objective, standardized, and organized. On the other hand, informal assessment varies from case to case. It depends on the psychologist. Case to case, and from one assessor to another. Therefore, it is open to subjective interpretations. Interpretations. Psychologists are trained in making formal assessments uh, because that is how you exactly know what the result is. Because this can be subjective, which means it may also depend on the psychologist's thought or views of life. If the predicted consequence is not what we want, we may want to intervene and effect to change a behavior. This attribute chosen for assessment depends on our own purpose. So, whether we're going to choose one of these depends on the purpose of our assessment, whether it is to change or positively or negatively. We can choose one of these. It's not a certain thing to use only this or only this. Then we have this important point which says psychological assessment. Psychological assessment uses systematic testing procedures. Systematic testing procedures to evaluate abilities. To evaluate abilities, behaviors, and personal qualities of individuals. Personal qualities of individuals. Psychological assessment uses systematic testing procedures to evaluate abilities, behaviors, and personal qualities of individuals. That is the definition of a psychological assessment, what a psychological assessment does. Okay, then we have the next topic, which is some domains of psychological attributes. In this, we're going to be learning what is intelligence, what is aptitude, what is interest, what is personality, what is values. So these are the 5 attributes. All right, so we have the attributes or some domains of psychological attributes, which are there are 5. There is intelligence under it. There is intelligence, then there is aptitude, there is interest, personality, and values. We'll be learning the definition of each of these and values. Moving on to some domains of psychological attributes. We must always remember that psychological attributes or assessments are usually multidimensional. They're not one dimension. This has been explained in the NCERT textbook as such. Psychological attributes are not linear or unidimensional. They are complex and expressed in terms of dimensions. A line is a mere aggregate of many points, right? A point occupies no space, but in terms of a box, it occupies space. It can be described only in terms of three dimensions, that is, length, width, and height. Similar in this case is psychological attributes. They are usually multidimensional. If you want to have a complete assessment of a person, you will need to assess how he or she functions in various domains of areas such as cognitive, emotional, social, etc. That's why attributes are multidimensional. So, under these attributes, we have five attributes, starting with first one, which is intelligence. Intelligence is the global capacity to understand the world, think rationally, and use available resources effectively. Effectively when faced with challenges. When faced with challenges, that is intelligence. Next, we have aptitude. Aptitude refers to individuals' underlying potential for acquiring skills. Okay, for acquiring skills. So, an individual's underlying potential for acquiring skills. What is the potential to easily learn something? Then is interest. Interest and aptitude is different. You cannot have a career if you just have interest in it but not an aptitude. It's very important to have aptitude, ability to do it. Interest is individual's preference. Individual's preference to engaging in one or more specific activities. Okay, so the thing that they choose, their preference, then is personality, the fourth attribute. These are domains of psychological attributes through which we differ people. Personality refers to relatively. You need to remember this definition even for the second chapter. So, relatively enduring characteristics of a person that makes him or her distinct from others. Then, last but not the least, the fifth attribute is values. Values are enduring beliefs about an ideal. Values are actually more stronger version of beliefs. So enduring beliefs a longer time beliefs when they stay in you for longer time such that they become a way of your life about an ideal mode of behavior. So a person having a value sets standard for guiding his or her actions, like I already explained. Next is assessment methods. The second subtopic, which is Introduction, individual assessment, individual differences. We're done with introduction, individual differences, and now we're doing assessments. After this, we'll be going to intelligence, which is going to be the next video. In this video, you're going to see the assessments. So, what are assessment methods? There are several methods for psychological assessment, like we've learned in grade 11 already. Starting with, what is a psychological test? It is an objective and standardized measure of an individual's mental and or behavioral characteristics or behavior. So what is psychological test? As we've already learned in grade 11, psychological test is objective and standardized measure of an individual's mental and or behavior characteristics. So the objective test, which is developed to measure the dimensions of psychological attributes like intelligence, aptitude, etc. These tests are widely used for the purpose of clinical diagnosis, guidance, person selection, like job interviews, etc. Let's write it as behavior characteristics. That's better. And then we have the second assessment method, which is interview, the most common one. It involves seeking information from a person on a one-to-one basis. It can be a group interview or personal interview, but in this case, just the definition of interview is seeking information from a person on a one-to-one basis. Then we have the third mode of assessment, which is case study. Case study is an in-depth study of an individual in terms of his or her psychological attributes. So case study is in-depth study of his or her psychological attributes, which includes psychological history also. So we'll add that here: psychological attributes, psychological history in context of his or her psychological and physical environment. Psychological and physical environment. So case study is in-depth study of an individual in terms of his or her psychological attributes, psychological history in context of his or her physical environment. That is case study. Then we have observation. It involves employing systematic, organized. It's kind of subjective in the context of observation. It's usually subjective, so it needs high experts or many psychologists together discussing on one topic to find out instead of just one person, because it's very possible for this to be subjective. Systematic, organized, and objective procedures. To record behavioral phenomena occurring naturally in real time. So observation is systematic, organized, objective procedures in terms of his or her behavioral phenomena occurring naturally in real time. Then we have the last but not the least, self report. This is commonly used actually. Self report is a method in which one provides their own factual information about themselves. So, about his or her self, his about herself or himself, and or opinions and beliefs, etc., that he or she holds. Such information may be obtained by using an interview or questionnaire or psychological test or a personal diary. So, self report is when the person himself says factual information about themselves or else their opinions and beliefs that they hold. So, these are basics as we've learned in grade 11, but till here is where you've learned the basics. Starting from the next video, which is going to be on intelligence. 1 minute. Thank you and see you in the next video.